Thank you very much, Dr. Abraham. We have known about each other for pretty long time. And as I said, I first heard about you from Mr. Madhav India in 1989. And then when I was broadcasting for Bharatvani, our mutual friend, Mr. Brijlal, the late Mr. Brijlal, used to tell me a lot about you. We're delighted that you could come and visit the Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia. The government is planning legislation to provide voting rights to NRIs, but PIOs are not included in this. 2 years ago, I had moved a PIL in the Supreme Court of India, saying that all the 31.2 million Indians living abroad, nearly half of them are PIOs and the other half are NRIs, should be given dual citizenship, which is enjoyed by residents of 70 countries across the globe. And I had also said that they should be given voting rights. Earlier they came up with if you want to cast your vote, wherever you are living, you have to come physically and vote. That's absolutely crazy. Who is going to spend thousands of dollars to come all the way from America or South America, wherever? So now they have become a little more practical. You can, with the help of internet, you can exercise your franchise from wherever you are. I think the legislation is going to be introduced when Parliament resumes its budget session. And it's nice to have you with us, Dr. Abraham. Before I request you to actually speak, I would request my good friend, Mr. Venkatesh Rao, who actually filed the case in the Supreme Court on my behalf, to give just a little brief, not more than 5 minutes, telling our friends what we are trying to do and so on. And then we will request Dr. Abraham to speak. Mr. Rao.
The matter regarding the dual citizenship is very important, current, because with technology, the people from all over the world are very easily connected in real time, and people want to be connected with their homeland. And as Mr. Venkat Narayan had, he's done extensive research and traveled to about 60 countries where he's met the diaspora everywhere. And everybody wants to be connected in a meaningful way with their homeland, having all the rights and not feeling that they are outsiders or aliens. They want a feeling of connect, a feeling of responsibility, a feeling of being able to contribute, a feeling of belonging, a feeling of security in their homelands. And in such scenarios, the important thing is that their citizenship rights must be intact. They must be protected under the constitutional provisions. They must get a full status as if they are part of the country. Now, under the Constitution of India, the citizenship is one of the first things that is being mentioned in the articles, Article 5 and onwards. Therefore, if a person has any rights, or he is able to show that if he is connected with a particular country or a state, it's his citizenship, nature of his citizenship that is to be in question. What are the rights that he has? Does he have some limited financial rights? Does he have rights to move in and out freely? Is his travel restricted by any chance? Is he subject to scrutiny? Does he have to go and report to some government agency or a police station when he comes in? All of these things matter, and they are psychologically very important to people from any particular area to be able to secure rights which give him freedom, which give him a sense of belonging. Now, what has happened under the Constitution is, and then there is a Citizenship Act, that any individual Indian who travels overseas and he adopts a citizenship of another country automatically loses the citizenship of his country. This is by a fiction of law that was that the Citizenship Act brought in. It was not originally contemplated under the Constitution, and like Mr. Venkatarayan says, about 70 countries in the world, people keep their citizenship intact. They don't lose them. Now we have several other situations, namely children who are born to Indian citizens overseas, because the moment the children are born in a foreign soil, they become citizens of their country, and the parents travel back, so they have a child who is a citizen of another country and not the citizen of India. So the child is brought up in an environment where he feels he's a foreigner and he has got limited rights. So it's important to ensure that by lineage, by connect, that his citizenship of the country to which he belongs, in the sense, when we say talk of belonging, the criteria is whether the father, grandfather by bloodline is connected to the Indian soil. We have numerous communities which have gone to South Africa, Sri Lanka, they've gone to many other countries in Africa, Mauritius, all of whom have a great emotional connect with India. They continue the cultural mores, they continue the various religious beliefs with the country. It is important that their rights must be protected, and this point, essentially not being able to be connected as a citizen of the country, getting rights. Citizenship does not mean just some travel and some other, it means that you have a right to represent in the country's framework. Mr. Venkatarayan also said that even members of parliament and other areas must have representation from people from the diaspora. They are a very important part of our Indian community and heritage. They are our people, they are our brothers and sisters, and we must ensure that they are protected by law. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. May I now invite Dr. Abraham to tell us about Gopio and what are Gopio's views on dual citizenship being granted to people of Indian origin, their voting rights, and their representation in parliament. There are a dozen countries where people of those countries who are living abroad are also invited to become members of parliament. So it could be done on a regional basis. After all, there are 285 people of Indian origin who are members of parliament in nearly 24 countries. And 125 of them were here on the 9th of January to attend the first international conference of PIO MPs, which was addressed by the Prime Minister of India. The NRIs and the PIOs total assets are estimated to be something like $400 billion, which is almost equivalent to India's foreign exchange reserves at this point of time. And, the Indian community living abroad plays a very important role. For example, when we were negotiating the Indo-US Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement, the kind of lobbying our community did persuaded George Bush to go for that, even though we have not signed the NPT. And so every year we are receiving $70 billion through remittances from mostly NRIs who are living in the Middle East and so on. But the point is, the Indian community is very, very important. I'm very happy that the government of India has recognized the importance of the PIOs and NRIs, and I look forward to the government of the day taking more decisions to make people of Indian origin and NRIs feel at home. They can come here, invest, buy property, do whatever they want. So we should have India is a global, we are knocking on the doors of the Security Council for membership. And wherever Mr. Modi goes, he makes it a point to meet, people of Indian community, whether it's in New York or London or Dubai or Australia, wherever. So, there is a certain emotional connect is already there. And I would like to appeal to the government to take more decisions so that the Indians living abroad, whether they are PIOs or NRIs, feel at home and are encouraged to invest and so on. Dr. Abraham, please.
Thank you, Mr. Venkat Narayan. It's a long time since I have been in touch with you. It was good that when in the United States, when we could not reach out and get the information on India or it's a report from India, the source was you through the radio program Bharat Vani. And I'm talking in the 70s and 80s and 90s when, of course, the radio programs were the only channel by which we could get the information. And I really thank you for contributing to that you kept us informed about what's happening in India. Yes, I would bring it on our stand on dual nationality as well as dual citizenship. But before that, I just want to say something about Gopio. It was, as you mentioned, when Madhura Scindia came, a special emissary or representing Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi at that time. This was a time when, as a group, Indian community was grown in the United States. And the good thing happened was that a large number of students came from top institutes in India in the late 60s and 70s to America. And they, in a short time, unlike other Indian immigrants in other parts of the world, they became outstanding in their profession and settling down. But they had a compassion, they had a feeling for India. And our group suddenly became active group worldwide. And we had the resources, that is how in 1989 we felt that we need to have a global network of Indians. Of course, that was a time in the mid-80s, there was a lot of human rights violation of our people, especially in Caribbean countries, in Guyana, Trinidad, Fiji. In South Africa, Fiji, an elected government was thrown out. And even in the USA, we had the issue of what was called as a dot buster, where one of the Indian got killed by a gang who claimed themselves to be dot buster because of our women's bindi on their forehead. So they said, we are dot busters. So when we initiated this and we came and talked to Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi at that time, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi said he agreed to become an honorary patron. That is how he sent a big delegation with Madhura Scindia. At that meeting, in 1989, almost 28 years back, 2 resolutions were voting rights for Indians, especially the Indian citizens living outside India. And then second one was dual citizenship. Because America had dual citizenship with a lot of countries. So we felt that dual citizenship is an important thing, especially for those who have acquired, who became natural citizens of America. And for that matter, Canada, UK and other countries, to give them that right so that they could be fully participating in the affairs of India. So although nothing happened for a long time, even government of India also took some time to see the importance of the overseas Indian movement. When we did the first convention in 1989, about 3,000 delegates who came from worldwide, about 30 countries. But it took about 14 years before government of India could even think of doing a program, Pravasi Bharatiya Divas in 2003, after Vajpayee administration appointed a commission on for the NRIs and PIOs, and then the convention happened in 2003, the first Pravasi Divas. But then onwards, from that onwards, the government also felt that this overseas Indians, whether it is NRIs and PIO, could be a great asset for India, and that is how they even thought of a PIO card. They started this PIO card for all Indian origin people, either born outside or natural citizens or people 4 or 3 or 4 or 5 generations who trace their roots to India. But we insisted on dual citizenship, but they came further only to a level of dual overseas Indian citizenship of India, like sort of like a American way of saying a green card, permanent resident. One could have a permanent resident, but it was not a full citizenship. Another thing which the government also, we also felt whether we need a full citizenship at that time. We were not sure about within the community too. Still, we are studying the implications. What happened in 2001 after 9/11 happened, there were some people who had dual citizenship, especially in a case I can refer that in England there was a mullah, a priest from a Muslim mosque, made many statements against Britain, and he was deported to Pakistan because Pakistan had dual nationality, although this person had a citizenship in UK. So the concern at that time we thought was that maybe overseas Indian citizenship of India, which was inaugurated in 2006 in Hyderabad by Manmohan Singh government, we also thought maybe that a limited rights may be okay. We never further thought about full citizenship. The reason being that if you are in a country like UK or USA, or for that matter other countries which have this dual nationality, if you have your primary citizenship in USA, if there is anything happens, then they can be deported because your primary citizenship in that country. So we thought maybe overseas Indian citizenship may be something which we need, which may not be need anything further. But I think what has happened since 2006 and around that time now, things have changed substantially. It is a connected world. The whole world is connected, and irrespective of where you live around the world, people can participate. And getting full rights may be one way of attracting new group of people, new resources for India. So we have been studying this, and for example, in the USA, we have many people who have been elected for positions, elective positions in the USA. They have gone back to some countries in Europe and have been standing for elections in those countries, and they have become elected officials of other countries. So in a changed world, I think we need to think of that way, that, it doesn't matter. So full citizenship should be a consideration. We would look into that. We'd like to see from the perspective of people what they feel. But we do feel that in the last, since you have filed that case, we have been talking to people, and we feel that full citizenship would be an answer to bringing more resources and more involvement. As you said, we are 30 million people, especially in America, 4.5 million people. We are the highest income earning group in America, and also the highest educated group. And even in terms of on a global scale, if you look at who have access to technology now, there is no other group now other than Indians and of course Chinese also. If you combine the technology resources of our people worldwide, including people in India, I think we would, the Indian origin people, top in terms of access to technology, whether it is new emerging or new cutting edge technologies, advanced material, nanotechnology, Internet of Things, devices for Internet of Things, nano bioconvergence, or artificial intelligence, we are there. Even space technology. So I think it is time for Government of India to consider how to bring that 30 million people their technology resources for India's development. And this will go a long way. And we would take up a stand soon on then, in continuation to your filing of the thing, we would also make an appeal to government to see that full nationality, full citizenship be given. In terms of voting rights that we have been advocating from 1989 as a resolution, we have interacted with the government of India when the voting election commission came to New York. Right now they are looking into two ways. One is proxy voting, and second one is what I am told that they will send the vote by email, but in the period of once you cast the vote to the time of counting, even if they get it by mail, they could still accommodate. There is about election commission said they have about 12 to 15 days of windows by which they can get the things. That would be fine. But that doesn't truly give representation to overseas Indians. We are about 15 million people, Indian citizens living outside India. They need to be truly represented. And when we talk about the number of members of the parliament, it could be as much as 3 or 4 people as members of the parliament. We have asked for Rajya Sabha seats, but nothing has happened in that regard. But even for proper representation in Lok Sabha, it has to be coming through a constitutional amendment. That has to work through all the political parties, but bringing them into as a full citizens and representation in the parliament will help a great deal, because we are talking about change world. We could be any part of the world, and just look example of what British citizens or USA citizens, they would be any part of the world, they participate in the voting anywhere in the world. And they are fully participants in the country. And we need to bring them also, India also bring them full participants of the country, and it will go a long way in terms of what we need to achieve, especially when we have so much of problems in terms of bringing, uplifting several millions of people, I mean hundreds of millions of people who are before poverty line. You need all the resources. Overseas Indians could also be a group who could contribute to the development of India. So this will go a long way in terms of how we can involve people as full participants. And we had to find ways by which we can have proper representation of overseas Indians in the political affairs of India.
Thank you, Dr. Abraham. See, one of the reasons we could not move forward with our PIL in the Supreme Court was that the petitioner, namely me, I had no locus standi because I'm neither an NRI nor a PIO. So the Chief Justice who delivered his opinion at that point was saying, we would like people who are affected by this or who are going to be benefited by this, namely PIOs, if they could come forward and file a PIL, the Supreme Court could consider that, which will then persuade the government of India to, bring about legislation. So we already have a case in that. I would suggest that you consider becoming parties. Gopio could be a party to that, and there may be similar organizations which are fighting for the rights of Indian communities living across the globe, so that it becomes a massive movement. And once we go to the Supreme Court, with leaders of the Indian community in different parts of the world, the Supreme Court cannot, say we are not interested. When the Supreme Court takes it up, then the media will pick it up. When the media picks it up, people will raise it in Parliament. So we all need to work together. There is already a petition in the Supreme Court, and my friend Rao was instrumental in drafting the petition. I did the research and everything, and met a lot of NRIs and PIOs during my visits in 66 countries across the globe. So I did the basic work. All that you guys need to do is lend your names, backing off your insurance. Then the Supreme Court, when you go back to them, hello, people living abroad in the Americas, in Africa, in the Pacific, wherever, they want dual citizenship and the voting rights and so on. And getting Lok Sabha, representation Lok Sabha, I don't know how it's going to work, but Rajya Sabha, definitely it can work. You say that there are 31.2 million Indians living globally. So you give for every 1 million people living, one representative, or 2 million, 3 million, I don't know, it can be worked out. So there could be at least, there could be, if you have 45 lakhs of Indians living in America, let there be 2 people nominated to the Rajya Sabha from there. Africa, South Africa alone has 1.2 million Indians, In the GCC countries, you have 8.5 million Indians. And you have Fiji, you are in Portugal, you have an Indian origin
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. In Ireland, you have
Another Prime Minister.
another Prime Minister. Mauritius has been ruled by people of Indian origin for a long time. And so I think you have to make a concerted effort. And there's already some work being done. So all that you need to do is have a chat with Mr. Rao and bring all, lend your name as a co-signator or co-petitioner and take it forward. I'm sure it will have the desired effect. And you have a Prime Minister who is very keen on taking people of Indian origin all over the world with him. And politicians of those countries, like in New York or England, they say, my God, we can't collect so many people to attend our meetings. This guy comes from India and he is attracting a bigger attention than we do, that kind of thing. So now is the time to assert yourselves and say, we want dual citizenship. We want representation in Parliament. We want voting rights. And don't expect us to spend thousands of dollars to come down from there. The Americans, I think they have a postal ballot system. And as Rao says, that when billions of dollars are being transferred, with passwords and all that, online, what is the problem of 31.2 million Indians exercising their franchise through the net? These are the things, Mr. Rao, you want to say something?
Quickly, I want to address three points that emerged from this Dr. Abraham's talk. First thing is that that anybody who wants to opt out of dual citizenship for whatever reasons, the law, the architecture of the law or the legislation will be such that they will have an opportunity to do it. First point. Second point is that merely because some perceived imaginary hypothetical disadvantages could be there doesn't mean that the numerous people who want it as a right, who want the dual citizenship where there are benefits, we should not be hesitating in going for that. The other thing is the government of India will look at it like the Chinese government, for instance, will look at it as a resource and they will give it the necessary protection. They will give it the necessary advantage. They will be treated as our brothers and sisters who require to be treated well. It is in today's world, like you said, in a technologically developed world where there is contribution, it cannot be perceived that a citizen of India who is a citizen of another country would be treated with a disadvantage or in any other way. So the only way is that this is not only just a win-win situation, but it would be an advantageous situation in all respects. That goes without saying, the dual citizenship. Second thing, so far as voting is concerned, Mr. Venkatraman, we discussed, he is the petitioner in the matter. Today, you can transfer your money from your account in India sitting elsewhere. People's vote, if you question anybody, do you value your voting right or your money more? They will say, we value our money more. And if that can be done on an architecture, on the online architecture where money is safely transferred which belongs to people, I'm sure voting can also be done. And many polls you will find are online polls of various kinds. If you are familiar with the internet, there are so many online polls which reflect truly the position. So therefore, online voting is a very important aspect of it. Insofar as membership of parliament is concerned, you have nominated members of Rajya Sabha, what you are talking, they may not even initially have an election. You may have a very simple process. The president could nominate 5 from each one from each continent, or or some such thing, so that they are able to come and contribute. There's a sense of belonging. They're able to address the parliament. And let me tell you, today, every ministry, every field of governmental activity has an international angle to it. Has a global perspective. Agriculture, pharmaceuticals, water resources, anything you talk about, it has a perspective which is, we are living in a world which is connected in real time. So therefore, and no better example than the Chinese government. The Chinese government throws the red carpet open to its diaspora, gives it every kind of benefit and every other thing that you can imagine, so that they can contribute to the welfare of the country. Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to further add that at our Bahrain biannual convention, we again passed a resolution about appointing at least 2 Rajya Sabha members. We'll be sending to the government. But we also thought something else. In 1947, when India got independence, there were a lot of Anglo-Indians, and thousands of them. But of course, since then, in the last 70 years, a large number of them have moved to Australia, New Zealand, England. And the number is a very small number, and they are overrepresented. In fact, we are 15 million people who are Indian citizens who are not represented. But here a few thousand. So I think that British thing is gone. I think government has to rethink about why a few thousand people are represented with 2 members of the parliament, where 15 million people have no representation at all. So this is one thing which came out of that meeting, that a due representation need to be given. And in a connected world, when every governments in the world are trying to reach out their diaspora for its country's development, I think there is no reason why government of India should not be doing it. It has to do it, and there is no other choice. And overseas Indians, the Indian diaspora can do wonders to India's development because of their professional knowledge as well as financial resources. And if we can bring them to India to actively participate, not only social activities but even political activities, they become part and parcel of the country, and India will benefit. And we will see that our community, diaspora community, will take an active role in India's development.
Thanks. I think that's a good idea. And perhaps the PIO community can challenge in the Supreme Court the need to have nominated Anglo-Indian representatives in the Rajya Sabha. When you plead for membership of the parliament for NRIs and PIOs, this could be mentioned in passing, I don't know, then maybe the judges might say something. And in their place, perhaps the PIOs representatives could be accommodated, I don't know. So it is an interesting proposition. So any questions, Nutan? You want to ask something? Yeah. Use the microphone. Just a minute, take the microphone.
Considering the kind of footprint that the Indian diaspora has done through the world in terms of trade and in terms of culture and spread the Indian footprint, do you feel that we have missed telling that story to the global world? I think it's a wonderful story. It hasn't been told. If Indians don't tell that story, who will? So do you feel some effort and some energy, because the soft power is sometimes stronger than the political power? Do you feel that that effort should be enhanced if you are doing that?
Well, it is being fully recognized. Say, for example, in the United States, whether it was the previous government, Obama administration, or even Trump, they do recognize the contribution of Indians. But in terms of, I mean, the same thing in Canada or same thing in UK, our contribution is very well recognized. One thing I have noticed that since our Gopio movement has started last 28 years ago, we were one of the first one to develop the overseas Indian movement and network. Now they are also looking at how we have networked. One advantage we had was that we are a newer diaspora than many of the older European diaspora. When they moved out to countries like from European countries to America, Canada, they lost their identity. They merged with the mainstream. Now, some of the diasporas have been talking to us, and we go there and meet in their meetings to tell them how we are mobilized or networked. So, people have been recognized as.
I meant more in terms of storytelling, in terms of engaging with the Bollywood, with Hollywood, with Disney, with music. I meant about creating abiding impressions in youngsters' minds and telling those stories.
Yeah.
Is there any effort to do that?
Well, there has not been effort, but I think the effort also needs to come from Government of India, because when we do anything, we are on a voluntary basis as a group. But the efforts have also to come from the Government of India to tell the success stories of Indians worldwide, whether it is in Hollywood, Disney, or any other places. I think a new effort need to be started or initiated, so that we can tell the good stories of what is happening. And that also, it is beneficial to India, because this is the soft power around the world, not just in IT, but other areas too. I fully agree with you.
Well, thanks very much. And so let's stay in touch, Dr. Abraham, and if there's anything we can do as a media organization of 800 people representing the global media, we'll be delighted. And I would urge you to, while you are here, give a push and have a chat with Mr. Rao and take it forward.